Time will tell, Leo.
Well, it's 3 o'clock. Hey, we have things to talk about. Did Ann want us to go through a bunch of this other stuff first? What was the...
Thought was if you wanted to have some time before Tracy joined us at 3:30 to talk about a strategy or how you want to approach this with her at 3:30. And then we do have the other items if...
Thank you.
Well, way back in time,
You
when
are,
I
my
was
friend.
in the legislature, I had to do battle with the university.
Use your mic, please.
You want me to use my mic?
I do.
Okay, when I was in the legislature, I had to do battle with the university to get compensation for services rendered by the town. And I got comparisons from Plymouth, Durham, Keene, and Manchester, and they calculated the parity, the amount, the comparison of how many students there were and how much money was being allotted for each community. And Plymouth was right at the bottom, comparison-wise. So that was one of the aspects that we used to approach trying to get financial agreement with the university. And I actually got my legislation through the House, and I got it through the Senate, and Governor Thompson vetoed it, and I got the first gubernatorial veto override on Governor Thompson in the House. I was 2 votes short in the Senate. But the university, I came back the following session, and the university saw that I got it through the House, and I was headed towards getting what I needed in the Senate, and they wanted to make a side deal, and that's the deal we have. And we've been bartering with them every so many years to update it. And
What years was that?
well, I was first elected in 76. I served from 76 to 82. That was my 3 terms that I served.
Well, it's only gotten worse since 82.
I know, but the town has been getting money. And before that, they didn't. The only thing they got was a fire truck.
Hook and ladder, yeah.
So I think kind of where we're looking at in front of you is what it would be if, we went, the first box is if we went with the assumption that PSU gives 1.5% raises, which is pretty close to accurate. What we would get if they gave us the same, rather than this decreasing by lack of growth. What we get now, what we get now is essentially a cut every year because it doesn't keep up with
Inflation.
inflation.
Yep.
We also put on there what we give the town employees, 2.5%. And then we put the CPI and the tax rate numbers on there as well. Well, I shouldn't say we, I should say mostly Ann
And, yeah.
to give proper credit. So, I mean, that's what we're trying to compare against is like, okay, level funding is actually a cut. What can we do to get to something that looks more like what you're giving a salaried employee?
Well, our costs, everything we have is going up because the dollar's going down.
Yep.
And so that's kind of our starting point. Even if they don't give it to us retroactively, if we could start with this year, baking in an increase, I think that would be a very positive outcome. I know that Scott's done a lot of work with the town and PSU as of late, and has got some kind of in-kind support that does have value. I don't know if you want to talk about that, make sure
Sure.
everybody's
on the same
And I know
page.
last time we spoke about that, there was some concern with regards to the in-kind that is for volunteering hours. And I don't disagree with that at all, because there's a benefit for the university, there's a benefit for the town, and there's a benefit for the student, because they're getting credits for that volunteer time, whether it's at the recreation department or any of the sort of volunteering that they have done. So I took all of that out and took another look at what the in-kind value of actual services or things that they provide to us. And what those are currently are the parking and Silver Hall lots. So Durham Wintram, in the in-kind value, is value that they put on for that cost. So the in-kind value parking Durham Winter Break was $50,000. The in-kind value of providing parking from May 15th to August 15th was listed at $186,000. PSU fire coverage, as outlined in the memorandum of understanding to police services, we can and have the right to invoice an additional $30,000 a year for that. Continuing education credits, depending on how many employees we have that have an interest in it. In the survey that I took, we had 11 employees that have an interest in continuing their education at Plymouth State University. So an approximate value to that was $75,000. The cluster project for economic development and parking, an in-kind value of $50,000. Use of university facilities for training, an in-kind value of $2,500. The use of Merrill Place for antennas and communication equipment is an in-kind value of $25,000. And keeping in mind that that site hosts the Plymouth Police Department and Fire Department antennas on the rooftop, and it's approximately a $700 to $800 utility cost per year that the university is undertaking. Other than that, the theater program, with regards to the registration platform that the recreation department uses for their youth theater program, they put an in-kind value of $10,000 on building the platform, maintaining the platform, and handling the registrations each year. University student volunteers at the cemetery, and I say cemetery because that was manual labor as well as developing a mapping plot plan for the town. They put a value at $560. And then they donated some mulch to the roundabout of a $250 cost. So they currently pay the $400,000 through the LSSA agreement.
What was that mulch number? Sorry.
Thank you.
250.
But additionally, they pay Plymouth Police Dispatch $67,451. Plymouth Police Department Special Details $45,360. Pirate Party invoiced and paid $20,620, and Fire Department details invoiced and paid $9,350. So cash payments, including those additional payments, total of $542,781.84. If you total the in-kind of the items that I just spoke about, that total comes to $399,310 for a total of cash and in-kind of $942,091.84.
The only ones of those that I have a really big question on is the calculation of the value of the parking.
I agree, that seemed
That
pretty.
is,
I don't
50,000?
disagree, but that is what they listed it, and I don't know how they calculated those fees.
I don't think,
Is there an insurance cost?
No, because our insurance, we indemnify and hold the university harmless, and our insurance covers that through a memorandum of understanding with the university. So no, it's
Yeah.
not insurance cost.
they're
Spot.
not using it.
They're not using it, right?
They're not using it, but they value it at what I consider.
That's what they would charge us to, if we wanted to rent it.
Right.
Right. I know that when the New Hampshire Music Festival, they paid a fee for the use of those parking lots. I don't know what that
I
fee
don't think it was anywhere
I'm sure
near.
it wasn't.
Can't possibly be.
I'm
Well,
sure
it would have only been for, probably a week anyway.
No,
Not a
the
month.
New Hampshire Music Festival was there for a whole month in the month of July.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. They were in, I can't imagine it was anywhere close to that. No one would have paid it. $50,000 for a month in January. Sorry, no one's using it that much. So I have a hard time swallowing those numbers. I would love to see how they figured that out, other than throwing a dart at a board.
You know,
Are
if
these
it
all
was-
numbers they provided us?
I'm sorry?
Are these in-kind numbers all numbers they provided us?
That is correct. The in-kind numbers are all numbers they provided to us based on what they reported.
Most of the rest of them I have no issue with, but the parking values,
The other thing they've offered, and this was in the latest conversation with Tracy, is through their MAPS program, their strategic business program, is they have a print embroidery shop on campus, and they've offered to do all of our printing and embroidering at no cost. Obviously, the town would have to purchase the shirts, the coats, whatever it may be, but they'd offered that up. I don't know what that in-kind value would be. I have no idea.
it all matters whether we use it or not.
Right.
So we have 20 minutes, and I just wanted to throw out a couple things. Where we're going to go with this. Are we going to actually go through and go, the 150 is crazy? Are we going to go through that list? Are we going to say, we agree with your numbers, it's not good enough? Are we willing to walk
think our goal-
away?
I think
I'm
our
just trying to
goal
get
here
where
is-
we're going.
Our goal is to try to get them to acknowledge that we need to have some level of increase baked in.
So how does that conversation differ than the conversations we've had before? I know we know what Scott has worked on, so they've sort of got that leverage. What has changed for us?
Well, they've given us their value over the years anyway, so we know it's there.
Right.
But we still are getting far less in property taxes than what they are able to provide. And I think they should at least accept the fact that, you know, there is a limitation to how much we even need the in-kind. And we provide them in-kind for just like being here, so they can
Right.
have their students work and get credit for it. I mean, so
Yeah, I
But that's
think
not
the
new.
goal.
That's not new knowledge.
But
I don't think that's a new take.
no, it isn't. It's always been there.
Right.
I think yes.
So what's different about this conversation? I know we sort of alluded to willing to walk away tentatively and go, you know what, we don't want anything. Is that still something we're considering?
Yes, I am.
I don't know if I can sign on to taking nothing.
But that's a pretty big impact. I guess I'd like
Yeah,
to
it means 80 cents a
evaluate
Zach.
that.
Put on the tax rate.
It's 80 cents, yeah.
Right.
Are we gonna continue this conversation now?
Public meeting.
I mean, it's a public meeting. It's been a public meeting.
Okay. Well, I just wondered if if there are students on campus who have children in our school system, and the employees in our community who work for the university have children who are students in our school system, if that's ever been calculated.
Well, if they're taxpayers, then it doesn't matter.
Right,
Okay,
exactly.
I
well,
don't-
you know,
It would only matter if they were like an RD or.
Yeah,
Something
if
put it on
they're
campus.
living on campus tax-free, then it would matter.
okay, so that's two issues. In most communities, the major industry employer helps pay for the schools, you know, in a nutshell. And the schools are expensive. That's a lot of our tax rate.
Everything we do is expensive.
Try buying tires for a dump truck.
No, I don't need to do that.
Salt for the roads. It's 3:15. Do we want to continue this conversation? Do we want to move forward? We want to bring Plymouth State to the table? Sure.
Sure.
Is it just the two of you coming today? John,
Come on
Tracy, you
up.
want to join us?
I don't think we've ever honored a guest by putting a table and mics. This is like
know, nice.
very impressive. yeah.
Next
We have an extra desk now because Scott cleaned up the place.
Oh, yeah, very
Yeah.
nice.
I will pay credit to Ann.
All we need now is to
Like a
get the
good supervisor,
Sawzall and
pass
make
that
that
credit
table a
down the
little
line.
shorter. We're good.
Sure, we could all push back just a little bit.
It was all Dan's suggestion, so thanks, Dan.
Oh, nice.
See, I know.
Thanks, Dan.
I like that.
Dan placed the request and it was done.
That's right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us. We're here today to talk to you about the LSSA. Just for context from the board's perspective, we've been we're in the kind of the fourth year of an agreement that was first 3 years at a fixed $400,000 contribution. There's some other bits to it, but the crux of it is a $400,000. And then a year ago, we extended that for an additional year, just maintaining that agreement so that we could, on both sides, do a little bit of research, come back, have a deeper conversation about that number. Our understanding from Scott is that you all have had some great conversations, and he's really appreciated, what you've been able to discuss and some of the in-kind items that we've been able to negotiate. Scott brought that to us last Monday, 8 days ago. And at the time, it was the board's position, and I think still the board's position, that we appreciate this relationship. We appreciate the in-kind. Unfortunately, we also feel pretty strongly that that $400,000 doesn't go as far as it went 4 years ago. And signing on for 2 more years of $400,000, it's great, but it's really not what we need in order to provide fire, safety, police, the various services that we've been providing at the level we've been providing them. Our costs have gone up substantially, and we wanted to get you back to the table to hear it from the board. We'd like you to reconsider. We would like you to consider an increase to that number in some way. You know, if we were to pick a number out of a hat, it would probably be a lot bigger than what you all would agree to. But we really feel pretty strongly that we need to see some movement. The town has pushed pretty hard on us to try to find a way to help offset the increases in taxes. And just so you know, in that time period, you've been paying $400,000 a year. That first year, taxes in this town went up 9%. In that second year, taxes went up 5%. In the third year, they went up 9%. And in this past year, they went up 10%. So over the course of those 4 years, the taxes and how much our town has had to pay, our taxpayers have had to pay to cover things like increased retirement, which is hugely up for our firefighters, increased benefit costs, just maintaining reasonable wage increases for our staff, as McDonald's has moved from paying $8 an hour to paying $20 an hour. That put a lot of pressure on us to maintain solid raises in order to keep a staff here, to keep police, to keep fire. And again, to provide the services we've been providing, to make good on that life safety service agreement that we have with you. So we brought you back today to say, can you move off this $400,000 number? Can we get some commitment for an increase on that number?
And I would say no. From the university's perspective, we're not willing to move off that number.
What's the reasoning for that?
The same things that you just cited, and there's a lot of extra things that we pay the town for as well. I could go through the list if you'd like, all the in-kind that we do. I mean, the only way that we could do that is if we start charging for some of the in-kind items that we do, because there is no extra revenue source for the university at this time. I mean, we just cut another $1 million out of our budget and we're still facing a $3 million loss. So we're the same thing. Our employees don't get the raises, don't get the increase,
So in these 4 years, you haven't given your employees any raises?
like 2%.
Okay, well, we'd be happy to agree today to a 5-year deal that's 2%.
Okay, well, we're not gonna, I mean, we're not moving off that number. I mean, I guess it's just, if you wanna do that, then we're gonna have to start paying for, you're gonna have to start paying for some of the in-kind services, that we provide. I mean, that's just the perspective. We have our board meeting Friday. We don't know if they're gonna cut our budget more. So, you know, we didn't put in any increases across the board. John's division, my division, every division has been cut. No one's gotten increases, you know, for.
You just said that people.
Well,
got
for
increases,
day-to-day
so not- some
activities,
people have gotten
for
some.
day-to-day activities. And I'm sure your people have
Are
gotten
you-
increases as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're trying to pay
Yep,
for.
and we have
Um,
too.
Don't you have some big projects going on campus? Those have all halted?
Yep, the Hyde Hall. And I sent,
So
some.
the town's gonna see you do a multi-million-dollar project on Hyde Hall, but not be willing to negotiate with the town to pay us a small amount?
Do you understand the funding, what that is? That's capital money. That
Well, money's,
is,
at the end of the day, money's money, right?
no, it isn't. Accounting wise, it's not. It's state money. It's donor money that John has to raise. It's us letting other infrastructure go to forgo capital to be in something that would bring more people to the community and the town and service the town.
Right, but right now, what we're seeing is that the university, over time, increasingly becomes not a valued partner, but a burden over time, right? As the cost of the things that we provide you exceed our ability to provide those services for the amount of money that you pay for them.
I would
then-
disagree with that.
In what way?
Well, we paid for the pirate party, which we didn't have to. There was additional money. We've been paying for the extra policing. You know, there's a lot of things that are outside the billing that we've been paying for as well. And we've been a great partnership. I've had a great partnership with Scott and talking about things, and we've bridged a lot of things that
5
we
years
could
ago,
do.
the university paid over $700,000 in cash to the town. In this past year, with all of the cash and all of the things that you've just discussed, you paid $542,000 to the town. So yes, you're right. We have agreed and we have successfully done some deals where we've been able to bill back some of these activities. But the reality remains that 5 years ago, the university was pulling more in terms of its commitment to this town than you're paying today.
So there's less students, there's less infrastructure. You know, 5 years ago, we had more students than we have now.
So would you be willing to take that $400,000 and figure out a per student assessment on that and sign a LSSA that's based on the number of students? And if your students go up, your contribution goes up?
No, that's not, you know, right now it's $400,000. That's what we're here
Does-
with. That's
does
what it's
the-
gonna stay with.
do the
And I
univers-
think it would be a loss for you because the student population is going down. At 2025, we'd be paying you less than $400,000 if you're looking at the
I hope that's not true for either of us.
if you're looking at the demographics, if you say a cost per student and you look at the demographics in New Hampshire, we'd be paying a lot less if we follow the demographics in the 10-year plan.
So your 10-year plan has your student population substantially dwindling over the next 10 years?
That's industry-wide.
That's industry-wide. If you'd
That's
like to
not
see
just
some of the
Plymouth State.
surveys, it's
But But
industry-wide.
Plymouth State's actually, you're planning for that. That's your current infrastructure and strategy. You don't actually expect to exceed those trends?
We don't expect to ever be back up to 4,000 or 5,000. Right now, with everything included, we're under 3,500.
Any
You're
industry
expecting
has
that
to
3,500
adjust.
No, I'm
Any
not talking
industry
about the
has to
industry. I'm
adjust,
talking about Plymouth State. You're expecting that
to-
3,500 to go down over the next 10 years?
to adjust to a decreasing population.
Yep.
Just decrease in ice cream, you have to make an adjustment, just according to our student population in the Northeast is dramatically decreasing.
With that decreased student population, would you be willing to work with the town to bring any buildings that you're not currently using for academic purposes back on the tax roll under private ownership?
That would be a discussion with the state.
Last time we met, you said no to that question, so has something changed there?
No, I mean, it's always a discussion with the state. I mean, right now, we're using the facilities that we have, but if we decrease and we keep decreasing to keep Plymouth viable and the town viable, we would look at any option that the state would be open to in our Board of Trustees. That's not, a Plymouth-only discussion. I mean, I would think the town would want Plymouth State to be here in some fashion.
Oh, I think we definitely want Plymouth to be here. What we're worried about is the footprint that you currently have, the amount of services that you currently use. We're seeing an increased cost on those services, but we're not seeing an increased payment for the services rendered, right? That's obviously, you used Mary Ann's ice cream business as an example. If Mary Ann sold ice cream for, $5 a cone and suddenly her cost increased to, $6 to actually put that ice cream in the cone, she's not going to stay in business very long with those kinds of economics. So we face the same thing. If we're providing a service to Plymouth State that's costing us more than we get back as a cash payment, it's very hard for us to maintain a fire department, maintain a police department, stay up with the increasing costs of those if we don't get increased revenue. The only place for us to get increased revenue is our taxpayers and our tax base. And so the result of that is we just keep increasing taxes on the people in the town, right? And so if we can't get folks like yourselves to say, yes, we're willing to help cover our fair share, then that's very challenging.
We feel as a university and as a system, we're covering our fair share.
Have you had any other contracts that have stayed steady for 4 years at the university?
Yes, ones that have been signed, they've been steady. And we've actually negotiated rates down because people want to keep us as a vendor and not lose us. That's why we're going through all the system as well and doing our procurement and everything through a system, because we need to have those cuts to be able to stay above the water, basically.
This is Plymouth's perspective. Do you think that the Chancellor and the Board of Trustees share this particular perspective?
Yes, I would say yes, they do. And we'd be happy to talk to them after our board meeting on Thursday or Friday.
I think our next, now speaking to the board, I think our next phase is to talk to the Chancellor. It doesn't sound like Plymouth State came here today in good faith to have a conversation with us about this, so that's fine. My perspective is we should talk to the Chancellor next, not run that through Plymouth State, but speak to them directly.
The Chancellor of the
Excuse me,
system
hold on.
is actually Jim Dean.
Hold on for a moment.
There's no need to be disrespectful. There really
I'm not
isn't.
being disrespectful, but
Yeah.
I said, I actually started that with, I'm going to speak to the board first. I'm now speaking to the board, and I'll re-engage with you in a moment.
I think any continued conversation is welcome by the town.
But I think we need to have that conversation direct. My proposal would be that we have that conversation directly with the Chancellor and the
Absolutely,
board, and not run
totally
that
not.
through Plymouth State.
I totally agree.
Seems reasonable to have the chancellor involved.
I think I'm in favor of that as well. There's several reasons, one of which I think the number of students that are coming in next year is like 1,100 or something. It's actually gone up.
We're budgeting for 950 because we have melt.
Okay, and I know when Peter Lovett and myself met with Don, you were there, and he did indicate that there were several buildings that they might divest themselves of because it's basically a drag. And you indicated that you have to speak with the board as well, and also your budget's going up. At least the university system is going up about 13 million over the biennium. So I guess that's another board decision. But still, my hope is that there's going to be some money trickling down. But I would agree, though, that the next step is to take it further.
My only comment was going to be that the Chancellor and the presidents are all equal, and it would be Don involved, Melinda, and Jim Dean. There's not a Chancellor per se that makes up, even though he has that title, he has no particular control, and he'll tell you that. So it would be all three of them that you would be dealing with. That was my only comment, that it was going to be.
Any other questions for our guests from Plymouth State?
I understand the complex financial considerations that go into major construction projects, and I don't want to confuse that with the operating budget and the taxes, but I think that if the school is, you say a national trend is shrinking, we should be discussing the possibility that you might have facilities that you don't absolutely need that you could put back on the tax rolls. And at the same time, our planning department is doing everything possible to develop commercial real estate to try to, build up our tax base. But it's a long, hard process. And if our tax rates go up, we're not going to be able to attract the investors to develop in our town. So, it's a delicate balance.
Would you like us to speak to where the money is coming from for the project for Hyde so that everyone's acknowledge? I don't know if you care or not. I
did share the information that you
Capital
sent,
funding.
Tracy, with
Okay.
the board.
just know that there was
It's a
some.
completely different funding source.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that and understood, like, it's not coming out of our coffers. There's multiple ways that it's coming to us.
And to be clear about the decline in population, that's from Maine to Virginia. It's a region, just, you mentioned national, and all schools are preparing for that.
Well, I have another idea, and that is that with global warming and sea level rise, more people are going to move to New Hampshire. And whether we like it or not, that may produce more students for the college.
Oh.
I don't know.
Unfortunately,
idea.
statistically, last year, New Hampshire population, we all read the same sources, did increase, but that was with folks, unfortunately, more my age than without children. And that's, so, it's wishful thinking, Neil. The statistics don't bear that out yet.
I have a question. Scott shared some values that were associated with the in-kind value for the parking. How are those in numbers arrived at?
They are what we charge for outside people that want to use our parking lots. They're established rates that we charge.
So $50,000 for Wintram parking is something that someone would pay.
If we rent the parking lot, there's a per space, per parking lot, depending on how you do that. Patty Rice does the calculation for that. And we do rent parking lots and space, and people come to us to do that, yes.
So when that $50,000 is assuming 24 hours a day for the entire month, or is it per space per day?
I don't know which parking lot and what it is, but it
Well,
would be
with
for that duration, whatever it is.
So, for example, the May 15th to the August 15th, the in-kind value that we listed on the MOU was $186,000. So 3 months
Yeah.
worth of parking for both lots, 210 and 211.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how many spaces are in each of those, but Ted's question obviously is one of concern, is how is that calculated? And you say that you have a fee schedule.
We have a fee
for that?
schedule that's actually public that runs through Patty Rice in the events office that's out there. Everybody would be charged the same type of rate.
Okay, that's my question.
Any further questions?
I'm just going to challenge John's opinion that I know New Hampshire's aging, but I do think that we have an uptick on something like 19 to 25-year-olds, and New Hampshire is like the most in that rate increase than other New England states. But regardless, we're still getting older.
Only quoting what I've read.
We'd be happy to share those surveys with you. They're actually stuff that was brought to us by the board, and that's what we're compiling our 10-year as a system. And all the colleges are doing that as well.
We get things too.
Yeah, it's an interesting article. I mean, I'll just say where I live, there's only 3 people going into kindergarten this year. So they're seeing the demographics go down. I mean, I live in the Sugar Hill Easton area, and there's 3 people going into Lafayette School. My daughter's graduating, and there'll only be 25 people in her graduating class. So the demographics is definitely not there, at least in the
Is
north.
Bethlehem part of that?
Bethlehem is part of it.
Okay, well then, my son has contributed to 2 kids that are coming along, so.
Need more?
Before, I know Zach said there was no other questions for us, so thank you, Zach. I hear, obviously, from the fundraising side of things, if there was concerns or questions, it's a good, well, you guys have me.
I just want to say that you have to understand that we all believe in education. It's the most important thing you can do for an individual. And, you know, we're not here to try to hurt the university. We just want to try to get along.
And we understand this perspective that you're in, because we're in the same boat. I mean, we understand that. And, you know, when Scott got here, it's been a great working relationship, talking with him, hearing all the different perspectives of what's going on. You know, we want to help each other, but there's only so much that the university can do as well.
Quick follow-on. You mentioned 3,500. Is that FFTE, unduplicated head count? What is that
The
number?
head count. It's actually the enrollment head count that's made public. You can all go and look at on the USNH website. It's posted out there. It's USNH board packet. It's on the link if you go to their link, and you can see all the items that are going to be presented Thursday and Friday, except for the human resource. The confidential ones won't be out there, but it's all out there if you want to take a look at the board packets for all the schools.
What was that 3? What was the number?
3,500.
3,500.
That's graduate and undergraduate. Yep.
How
And
many
it's
of
out
those-
there.
Do you know how many of those live on campus?
I do not right off the top of my head.
We just had over 1,000 graduates in May.
Yeah, and one of our next biggest classes, which is gonna hurt us, because we have smaller classes going through the funnel now. So hopefully.
Is it half live on campus? Is it less than half? Like, what's the ballpark?
What do you have space for on campus? Maybe
Yeah, I
that's
guess
a
how many
quick-
beds?
I think it's about half. I don't have the exact numbers
For
for,
like 2,000-ish.
it's roughly probably 1,500. We are taking some of the apartments offline. We're taking some other things offline. I mean, we're having the same type of thing. We can't get people to fix it. We don't have the money to fix certain things. We only get a certain amount of deferred maintenance, which is part of the capital that we're choosing to spend on. You know, Hyde Hall is part of that. There's only so much capital dollars that were allotted every year out of our budget that's set by the board.
So some of the student apartments are coming offline.
Yes. We gotta fix roofs, we gotta fix all kind of things over there. And one of the biggest things, I mean, we strategically, if you look in the graph that I sent you, there's a column that's strategic initiatives. That's money that the system is actually giving to Plymouth to invest in our infrastructure for some of our capital projects. And Hyde was the one that we thought could bring more people into town, more people into taking those majors. It houses the business departments, all those types of things, which is one of our growing biggest majors is in the business area.
There it goes. I thought I had it shut off.
It's not, you know,
One more question, Sue. Regarding your ability to seek grant opportunities that are outside of the university system itself? Have you been successful doing that, or?
We've been working, we actually were part of the grant for the town. Brian Eisenhower helped with the housing grant. We've been doing stuff with sustainability, the chargers. We're trying to get some more solar panels, those types of things. We're looking for one for our child care center right now. We've been pretty successful. We're not an R1 institution like UNH. I wish we was. That would help us tremendously, but we get Embry grants from Dartmouth. It's for our biology area.
Are those grants that you recently applied for, have they?
They've been continuing the Embry grants, yeah.
Okay.
They've been continuing. Brian Eisenhower is working on one right now for the Lightning EV chargers, which would benefit the town as well.
Is there a day when that's due, or?
It was due last week, so we should be hearing hopefully soon.
Okay.
We
Where
got
would
the
those
nursing
go?
grant for the building.
Where are they considering putting those?
Right now, we were looking at over by Citizens, maybe down by Physical Plant. We have to see where the chargers can be because of the floodplain area down by Physical Plant. But we were thinking up by Citizens Bank, 2 or 3 slots up there because that's sort of central to everybody and everybody could use them.
So you can add that to what you bring to the table when it comes through.
Go ahead.
Is it okay?
Yeah, please.
I know it's over in Holderness, it's not in our town, but the new track building was an enormous expense and operating cost for the university. And did you manage to get some corporate sponsorship to help allay that cost?
A small amount, as you see Bank of New Hampshire's on. the
Really
outside
small?
of in relative terms.
I was wondering if it might be possible to get some more corporate sponsorship, maybe in Plymouth, for something.
Well, hopefully that'll be part of our Hyde Hall campaign,
Yeah.
corporate
You
philanthropy.
already have some there?
We're in conversations.
Yeah.
As Tracy shared the numbers, we've been very fortunate to, knock on wood, achieve the numbers that President Burks has charged us with for our past projects, which have all been on the Holderness side of campus.
Is that building going to be all shut down for a year?
Hyde Hall,
Yeah.
it's in phases. It's staged.
Have you ever considered passing the LSSA costs on to on-campus students via fee structure?
We have not.
I was thinking, I know students pay a series of fees that directly fund the various costs. They pay a technology fee that helps to fund the IT department.
Yeah, we actually had to keep most of those flat. There was a 2% across the board that the trustees approved, and most of that went to our health services because that's where our biggest need is for our students. So other departments and areas didn't get an increase this year. So their budgets were held flat because we're seeing a big uptick like everybody is in health services, mental health services, I should say, for the students.
Yeah, makes sense. Have those, you said this year that fee stayed, have those fees stayed flat?
They've
for
pretty
many
much
years?
stayed flat or 2%.
Tuition, it's been flat too.
Yeah, new tuition was flat, which is why, I can understand you being hesitant about these costs, but if you, it's just spitballing, but if you were handing on-campus students a $200 life safety service agreement, they would be paying a whole lot less than an off-campus student is paying via the taxes on a home that they're staying in for a year. We're just thinking like $200 to live in this town for 9 months. There's nobody who lives off campus and pays this town $200, right? It's just not, you can't live here for that cheap. But but your students do. And I wondered if just making that, like, pulling that out of the tuition, putting that on as a fee would just make all of that clearer and cleaner, but you know, it was
So
just,
the problem with any of the fees, just to be transparent about that, is, so all the students, you put the cost of attendance to go. So if every student is not charged that cost of attendance, financial aid, it can't be packaged with financial aid, so that would be something that would be outside of the financial aid package if you said only people on campus are being charged this. Which most of our students are Pell eligible students, so that would be another hindrance to them. You know, so right now with, we just had this conversation about health services. The health services that they use at UNH, they require everybody to have
health
a health
service
program. We don't require it. If we required it, then it could be in part of those fees, but we don't require it. It's that all or none thing that almost happens to us with the fees when they're mandatory.
yeah.
Because even the kids who aren't athletes, you know, pay a fee to be able to use the facilities and all those types of things. So we get a lot of conversations and the students vote on what fees are going to go up, what fees are going to stay flat, those types of things. It's all done by our student senate, what they feel is necessitates it.
Would you be open to considering a change in that model at all?
I think that would have to be something that would be brought to the board, and it would have to be brought to the students, and again, it would be an all or nothing, you know, type of conversation.
What do you mean by that?
Every student would have to be charged it, not only the students that live on campus, like everybody would have to be charged for it to be able to be in our
That way it
financial
would
aid
show up in-
package.
That way it would still be financial aid eligible.
Yeah,
Yep.
because most of our kids can't afford additional dollars.
Yeah, at that point, for 3,500 students, that brings that down today at $400,000 to $115, something like
Yeah,
that.
it would probably be more like, if we did everybody who was just undergrad, just 2,700 to 2,500, and then if only half of those live on campus.
Gotcha.
When I was a student at UNH, I didn't have to pay as many fees as I did at Plymouth State.
Yeah, we've been arguing that model forever. I would rather everything be included as in tuition. It would make it a lot easier because it makes it very difficult. We get through those conversations of, why don't use the ice arena? I don't, you know, use different things, you know, why do I have to pay this type thing? So, you know,
At the
that's,
same point, it also brings some transparency to that bill. I'm just thinking as a parent who's now looking at the prices of colleges.
yeah. Sometimes it's just nice to say, this is
One big lump sum price, though, I'm like, I don't know what you're getting for that.
Or some majors that cost more. I mean, when I was in the Penn State system, like the nursing program had a tuition differential. Different programs had different tuition differentials, which was very nice because, you know, you need labs, you need all that equipment instead of nickel and diming like everything in a lab setting.
And having an English major paying for your nursing lab feels a little awkward. Any other questions for Plymouth State? Thank you for coming in.
Sure, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you,
You're
John.
welcome.
We have some other items here.
Yep. Pavement.
I can't figure that thing out.
Everything okay over there, Neil?
I don't know.
It's just popular.
It's just my life.
It's that safe mode.
Blowing up your phone.
I think I got it that
I
time.
don't think it's safe.
I
mode
got
if
it
still
that time.
rings.
What's that?
There it is.
Wait a sec.
It's gone.
Neil,
It's gone.
when did you get a smartphone?
Oh, I got this Android, and that's all I could manage.
Wow.
Phone?
Nothing wrong with an
Using a
Android.
flip phone.
Yeah, I was, but it died.
They were in my family.
Yeah, and you can't find them anymore.
All right, abatement requests?
His last name.
So in front of you, and I'm sorry that the copies came in so light.
That's fine.
Zach actually has the original.
This is the New Hampshire Electric Co-op.
Yes. And Zach, can you just give us the number that's on there?
Maybe.
Okay, we're
It's
on
on
to,
the next page that you're looking at.
This page?
No, the next page.
The Stall Away and Hollis one?
Nope, there should be one there that says, this
120,000.
one over here.
This one? That was the first one I was looking
Okay.
Is it done? No.
at. Abated in the amount of $69,704.38.
Right. For the year 2022, the town should have followed the 700 rules, which the state came out with for utility values. It's phase-in value changes. We, for whatever reason, did not appropriately assess New Hampshire Electric Co-op and use those rules. We do have a new utility appraiser now, and we had him look at the information, and this is a recommendation from him. And it falls in line with the abatement request from New Hampshire Electric Co-op.
Okay.
So their assessment is going from I believe it was 14
388,
million,
388,000.
$388,100 to $11,830,700. And
are they saying that the value of their infrastructure is dropping?
according to the 700 assessing rules, utilities are allowed to recreate their value, so to speak. And what they do, we have to not only set their value, but then we equalize it. And our equalization in the town of Plymouth right now is at 56%. So it's not only taking what their base value is, it's equalization as well. That's how we're supposed to assess
Okay.
them. And, sorry,
New
trying to
formula.
explain it the best I can. So that's the reason. And we decided, instead of making payments to New Hampshire Electric Co-op, to just put this abatement through. What your abatements affect are your revenues for the town. Our revenues, as Scott reported to you at one of the last meetings, were down to 0.3 of uncollected. So this is a better year to
Take that.
get rid of this abatement, all right? Instead of breaking it up into a couple of years. The other thing is we have not seen the value yet for the 2023 year. So no abatement, of course, has been filed for that, but we believe that the new utility appraiser will get us to the correct value according to those 700 rules. So we hopefully won't be seeing an abatement of this magnitude again.
Just a clarification. You said, and on this section E note, you said 11,830,700, but then both the thing for us to sign and the email with Brian and Carol says 12,070,800.
I'm sorry, let me look.
So there's just two different numbers, and I wasn't sure what the difference
So
was.
on the list, the tax warrant itself, Zach, on the tax warrant itself, it will show you on there, yes, it'll show you on there what we assessed it at and what it should have been assessed at.
14,388,100 was the value, and then the handwritten number says 12,070,000.
Yes, so I'm sorry, that's what we went to, from the 14 million down to the 12.
Any other questions about this?
No.
Scott, did you have anything else to add to that?
Just in our conversations with our new
You need a vote or we
utility
just sign it?
reevaluation vendor, Brian
Those
Fogg,
abatements we just signed, right?
You do, but this one is so big.
I think that he will put us in a better place through communications with the co-op than where we've been in the past. This is something that's been worked on for over the past at least 3 months of trying to get some answers from our previous vendor that we were using, and we weren't able to be able to get a number, so we asked Brian to step in. Brian worked with the attorneys at Donahue, Tuckus, and Dell to get us to a number that was acceptable by the co-op and something that we would be able to handle in this year's budget.
Oh, I missed one too.
We'll go.
Brian is an outside person that we use. That's how
Brian is
that
an
works.
outside vendor that we use for utility
Second.
evaluation.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, utilities are a little bit harder to.
Say it again?
Utilities are a little harder to value, and not everyone has that expertise.
That's it.
All right, so our current assessors are different from our utility appraisal assessors.
Where's
Okay.
where's the
So
other?
is it all
section?
utilities?
So this one, and then the one that Zach had with the number on it. is 69.
It's like a letter. And
Like
that's one I didn't sign because
handwritten.
this little thing came flying off.
Okay. Where's the letter?
It's the cover sheet, and it's the,
Yes?
then I see that.
Why don't you just tell us?
Sorry. Not that, not that. Nope.
It's not that either.
Zach, you must still have that in the pile somewhere.
Okay, well, at least we're not crazy.
Yep.
That?
That, please.
Oh, that
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah.
That's the actual abatement
Gotcha.
we used to process it.
Right down
Oh, this one.
One you can't read. I'm
One I
so
can
sorry.
match, well,
I just,
I can see that says something on there.
got a week or two to go.
We're economizing on our
Dawn
photocopier.
was gone, it's my fault.
That's okay.
Top one and that one.
Thank
That's
you
life.
very much.
And then reschedule the 6/26/23 meeting?
Yeah, Bill mentioned that he is not going to be able to be here on the 26th.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the Lake Sturgeon Planning Commission annual meeting, because I figure politically it's probably not a bad idea for me to attend that.
Okay, so we're gonna cancel.
Cancel and then go to our first meeting in July 10th,
Okay,
if that works for everybody.
fine by me.
Yeah, me too.
July 10th
Since
is-
we're processing a couple of
July
things here,
10th's
it
a
doesn't
normal
leave you in
meeting.
Oh,
any
okay,
sort of
yeah,
bind
that's
for end of
Why we
year.
brought these tonight,
Tonight.
today,
Oh,
so
okay.
that we don't get into
You
that.
think you'll have anything else that comes up that you need done
So,
before July 1?
I don't think so.
Is there anything here?
And yes, so we'll see each other again on 7/10. Which is better than me taking a call in a hotel room anyway. Encumbrance requests.
Package, right?
So I did provide the board with a current list of encumbrances along with the current budget. So we are asking for, as you look down through the listing, 1.625,626.66. We do not owe any more money to the school, so we don't have to do anything there. The budget remaining when this report was run was 2.8 million. We anticipate about 1.1 remaining as of 6/12. We still had payroll, we still had some outstanding expenses. Estimating about 503,000, and that's an estimate, to be added to your unreserved fund balance, undesignated fund balance, at the end of the year from your revenue, from your expense side. Revenues we're still working on as they're coming in heavy, but they are coming in, which is good. Right now, we currently have $646,000 in retainage or fund balance when you set the tax rate for 2022. So hopefully this amount or close to this amount will be added to that, and that will put you at about 6% retainage, and the state wants you to retain between 5 and 17%. But that'll help offset the taxes if you need to. We don't know yet what the board's decision will be because we're having a full reval this year. So the tax rate's gonna change anyways, but we know that, so.
Towns being reevaluated.
So we are looking for an approval right now of $1,625,626.66 for an encumbrance balance from the 22-23 year to the 23-24 year. Most of that is because of the South Main Street project. That's 922,000 we're carrying over.
Yep.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve $1,625,626.66 for the encumbrance balance.
I'll second.
Any discussion? A little uncomfortable with how many sixes are in that number.
Line paper.
I don't know if this relates, but High Street. I don't know if you know, but there's a sale pending.
We do know there's a sale pending and the lien is on the property.
Will we take that revenue on the closing day and have to accept it in some manner?
We will, it isn't until that's paid till we accept that revenue.
Okay, 'cause
And the only thing that we're accepting for that really is interest.
but also reimbursement for the,
But that's in the tax collector's hands. We've already accounted for that.
okay, so that's already accounted for.
already-
That doesn't
it's-
sneak in here and mess you up because it's a
No,
$20,000 you didn't
We'll
account
collect the
for.
interest on,
Right.
on that.
Okay. I only ask because I know that's closing on Monday,
Oh, nice.
this fiscal year. So suddenly,
It'll be a lien. We've
So
already
this is
accounted
the
for that
amount
lien.
that we
Okay.
have to-
great.
What's the interest, do we know? Guess.
28,000,
Oh, it's,
what we're voting on?
12% interest right now.
Oh, I need to start doing that.
I know. Yeah, so that's good, Zach, though. We won't have to worry about that.
No,
We'll
it'll
just
be
have
good.
the other one that they're working on next year. Will be
Right,
lean
and
as well.
the asbestos abatement has been done on 295 Main Street, so I'm just waiting for Witcher Construction to provide a date on when the raise and removal will take place.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, end of discussion on that. Any other? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
How much was Witcher gonna charge to do that?
36,000.
So we had presented to the board at the last meeting the 24-25 budget schedule. Did everybody kind of happen to look at their schedules? I only heard back, I think, from Ted, if that schedule will work.
I'm this far out. I have no objection.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and send that out to the CIP, okay. Did you hear that, Scott? We're good with that? Okay.
You can't put those in the incinerator, can you?
All right, everybody's signature has gotten horrible. You
It's
can't
got-
tell one from the other anymore.
We're following the leader on this one.
Ryan.
That's right.
And we got a highway purchase order.
Yes, the purchase order in front of you is for, coming out of this year's budget, and it's for the overhead doors that were appropriated
Yours.
in the budget this year. Joe is recommending going with overhead door options. You have 3 quotes there. The overhead door option quote is $22,835. Then you have a quote attached to the package
See, much better.
from Kristen Green Services. That came in at $20,485. And then you have a quote from Laurent Door Systems that came in at
15.7.
1571. The reason that we, in the conversations I've had with Joe, that we're moving forward with overhead door is a couple different reasons. Laurent could only provide a 24-foot door, which won't work in the opening. That is for the door to be placed. The second part, it's only an R16 value insulated door. With Green's proposal, it's an R16 door, which is less money than what the R18, that the overhead doors proposed, as well as the motors in the overhead door option is a heavy-duty motor that will carry this door. The other piece is a safety factor that the other two companies didn't have in place, which is called a track stop. So typically doors will only stop when it's at the bottom. There's a sensor at the bottom. This door has a sensor all the way up the track. So if a piece of apparatus or something is coming in and it recognizes that, it will stop before it hits it. It's not just at the bottom. So that's why in my conversations with Joe and Steve, to recommend the overhead door option at $22,835.
That's an important safety feature.
Absolutely,
Yep. Because there could be a person there.
absolutely.
What prompted this replacement?
I'm sorry,
What prompted this replacement?
this was something that was put into the capital
Current-
improvement plan
Yes.
Oh, this was
Current
in the
year.
CIP.
Yeah.
Okay.
for the
Is
current
that
year.
for 2 doors?
That's one door,
Next year, there are
6-foot door.
2 additional doors
Yep.
in the CIP,
The other
Okay.
door's
in the
okay.
budget that we're going into.
Right now,
So
but there is more money next year.
this is just the
Same
first.
kind of door, same size and specifications.
Well,
I
think
don't
doors
know
are
about-
important.
What, the other doors that are gonna be replaced? No, those are smaller doors on the westerly side of the building. This one is the end door, which allows equipment in and out from the
That's the main door.
north side of the building.
So it couldn't be any smaller than the 26.
It could not,
Okay.
no.
The north side gets the cold wind, too.
And that's why they wanted the R18 value insulation.
All right, make a motion that we approve the highway purchase order for overhead door options for $22,835.
Second.
You get it. Nick.
Well, it was a tie.
You get it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Before we wrap, any further discussion post Plymouth State's exit?
Can I just mention one other thing before? we
Yeah,
get-
no, let's do that, please.
I'm just checking in on the Lakes Region Planning Commission membership dues. Bill and I have been going back and forth with North Country Council, trying to set up an appointment with them based on the conversation we had last Monday night. Still waiting for a date to speak with the executive director at North Country Council. And this invoice was sent to us on May 15th for fiscal year '24. Just wanting to know if we still want to hold off on this until we have the opportunity to meet with North Country Council, or pay it for the upcoming year.
I'd hold, I don't think they're gonna throw us
Yeah,
out. for the-
yeah, is it like net 30?
We've had towns that haven't paid for a couple of years.
Okay, so hold off on it until we have a conversation.
Yeah,
a
and to be,
bargaining
to be
chip.
frank, I was kind of disappointed that she just took so long getting
I
back.
agree.
And so that's not really a
It would
great
be a
sign.
bargaining chip, wouldn't it?
What's that?
Well, you're bargaining with them, aren't you?
Well, you figure, what do you think, holding off is good for her and her position as far as, so yeah, I was kind of bothered by that, but
I just wanted to mention it, and I'm happy to hold off on that until we have the meeting with Megan, I think is her name, up there at North Country Council.
I think that makes sense.
And then just one other piece, some of the paving project has been completed. If you travel along New Hebron Road, you'll notice from Reservoir Road up to Bruce Wiggett's residence has been ground, graded, and paved. And the sidewalks on Broadway Street and Wentworth Street were completed this week. So
Good.
we will have an article in the newsletter this week from the Highway Department talking about some of the progress and improvements they've made on the streets and roads and sidewalks in town.
So how do you want to set up a meeting with the
yeah, I was just
chancellors,
thinking
I
about that,
guess?
yeah.
So I do have an avenue to the chancellor
Okay.
that I'm willing to call tomorrow and see if we can't get a meeting set up with Chancellor Dean.
That would be good.
It would also be really,
Change the discussion we had today, though, honestly.
well,
So
presently.
they have, we may differ on the actual values of the in-kind, but if we said $100,000 for the in-kind, how do you fight that? How do you?
I don't care, I mean, frankly, I don't care about the in-kind.
Yeah.
So you're
They're
willing to
always-
let go, all the in-kind goes
If
away?
they would
though.
give us another $50,000, I would give up every piece of that in-kind in a
Really?
heartbeat. It's not worth $399,000 to this town.
Well, so 100,000, I'll throw it a really low, I'm trying to play devil's. 100,000.
Almost 200,000 of that 300 is
Parking.
Yes.
Right,
Which we
right.
appreciate that they've given to us. It's very helpful. It's great during this project. I wish they would do it all the time, but also cool.
it doesn't really
The
have any
state
value.
pulls out of the free parking. Like, okay, it's fine. We need to pay for our fire department. We need to pay for our police department. That parking lot's not paying the bills. In my opinion.
I think you have a pretty good opinion on that. So I'm sure like the rest of the other people in Plymouth probably would agree with that.
Yeah.
Maybe some
And
people
I'm
downtown.
glad they want to engage with us on the cluster project. If we had to pay them $50,000 to engage with us on the cluster project, we would engage a third-party vendor. If we
Which
really
would be a
thought-
little bit more expensive, but it'd be money well spent.
Yeah, exactly.
But when,
And I
so
mean,
then
the
our
other-
taxes go up if we do that. Once again, playing devil's advocate.
Our taxes
So
don't
now
go-
they're gonna
our
go up
taxes
if we
go
don't
up
get
on-
the 400,000.
Our
and
taxes
then
don't go up on any of that
additional-
in-kind.
Say that again?
Our taxes don't go up on the in-kind.
If we have to hire an outside consultant for these cluster projects,
We don't.
yes.
Wouldn't do the project.
Just by
Just not do
saying,
the project.
yeah, just by saying cluster projects, we're helping them out because they're doing.
Understood, but I look at the economic development and that's an important piece of us growing, lowering our taxes. So if we go outside,
There's a chance that we do that cluster project and the end result are recommendations for them that are not actionable. Right? It's a cluster project. It's
understood.
It's student work. We have to hope that it will succeed and be content with a failed project, which wouldn't be the same.
That's what we hope for.
what we
And I
hope
mean,
for.
I'm
just
just
like
trying
with
to
the parking,
understand
we
the
wouldn't,
impact completely, and what does that look like? That's what I'm trying to understand.
You haven't said that you would not accept what they are offering. What you've said is that you would like to go to the top and have a true conversation with the individual who potentially has the power to make a different decision.
Yes.
I'm sure that once you meet with the Chancellor, the board will again reach out to someone and say, either we need to accept what you're offering, or we believe that you can pay more according to what the Chancellor has told us.
and I think with a conversation with the Chancellor is, I think we understand the issues.
Right.
Whether it's our issues or their issues. And I think with the Chancellor, we can take a solution-oriented approach. And maybe that's no increase this year, but what can you give us next year? And for the year after, is really trying to have an opportunity to transcend the problem and really come up with a solution that not only works today, but works in the years to come. And I think that's what the conversation with the Chancellor gives us an opportunity to have, is say, we want to come into this with a solution-oriented base, and we want to make sure that we can perpetuate the agreement, the relationship, and the position that benefits the town.
Yeah. I mean, effectively what they said today is that their position on this isn't going to change for 10 years. Because that's the demographic change, and they can't fight against it. And like,
But at least you've now taken it to the next level.
no, I agree. I
And
think we need to go to
I
the next
think it's the
level.
right
And to
move.
your point, we need to go to the next level and come up with a solution that isn't, hey,
That isn't, no.
it isn't no, and not just no today, no for a decade. Like that's not an answer.
That's not a solution.
It's not a solution. It doesn't respect our problem here at all.
And do they really know what your concerns are? Is your information being facilitated to them?
Oh, I will say firmly, I don't believe Tracy came here to listen to one word that we had to say today.
So
I don't
that
believe
gives you
that's
that
true.
opportunity to.
And the chancellor might. He might actually show up and engage in a conversation with us that says, here's our challenges, here's what we're seeing, the value of this dollar we're getting from the university is getting lower, our costs are getting higher, and we're squeezed in the middle. How can you help?
But Don is also part of that Chancellor Hood. I don't know what else she's called.
Part of the
Yeah,
board.
he's
He certainly shares Tracy's at least past conversation.
Did I hear her say that they're $3 million over budget?
There are $3 million
So,
in the red.
does that
yes.
mean that they get a handout from the chancellor
The chancellor doesn't actually,
or the university system?
the chancellor right now is a title that is held by UNH's president. Okay, James Dean. Have to remember, not Paul Dean.
Oh, the president at Durham is the
He's
chancellor?
Yes.
And what Tracy was
That
saying
hasn't
is
always
that,
been.
no, it's not the way it's always been. When the previous chancellor left, they did not hire a new chancellor.
Oh, I see, they merged it, yeah.
So, that's the way it is.
So they
Yes,
You
thank
gotta
you.
go.
Well, I actually have a little bit of flex on what the heck.
they didn't, if they don't come up with that 3 million somehow for their budget, they're gonna get it from the university system.
They have an extra
we-
$13 million. So how they're gonna allocate that is up to the, the board. But they also have, according to the conversation I had with Peter Lovett and Don and Marlon, but he's gone. But they have like 3 years in reserve, $5 million a year. So if there's a loss, they can cover it. So
Where's that money come from?
they
Bank
squirreled it
accounts.
away.
A bank account, it's their rainy day fund.
Oh, it's a slush fund?
Well,
I wouldn't call it
Rainy day, I wouldn't
slush.
call it slush. Rainy day.
Rainy day?
Similar
So
to
is
your
your bank account a
unreserved
slush
fund
fund, or is it a
balance.
rainy day fund?
My
I would
bank-
have to have one.
Mine is definitely a
money.
slush. Yeah, the only other thing that I wonder is if we should casually point out, is this recording gonna go on YouTube?
Yes.
still going, yeah.
We casually point out the existence of this conversation that happened on YouTube, maybe to a press of some sort, so that they could read about and see the conversation we had and where it's going.
Can we wait until we have a conversation
I
with
would
the
agree.
chancellor?
Can we
Sure
share
seems
that?
to me like
That would be
the
diplomatic.
chancellor might show up with a little bit more
I
need
just-
to make the problem go away if it felt like a
So,
problem.
so you think we should
I would get a
put
feeling
firecracker
from
on
him
them?
first.
Yeah.
I mean, we may have no control over that.
Right.
I should know tomorrow.
Okay.
Give him a chance to talk to him.
Okay.
Everybody's available next, you're not available next week, you're not available next week.
I'm around.
What time?
We don't, I mean, it's gonna be,
I will
It's
give
gonna be-
everybody an
Next week's
update
kinda
tomorrow.
It's gonna be a Zoom conversation probably at the very
I
least.
would,
I am back Friday, so if it's all the way out to Friday, I'm available Friday.
What about the 26th? We're scheduled for a meeting
no, we canceled it.
that's canceled,
because of today?
No.
because we won't
Bill
have a
we won't
quorum
have
for the
quorum.
26th.
Oh,
Bill's not gonna be
It'll be
here.
just the two
Bill
of
has to be
you.
at LRPC, and I need to be in Atlanta, and you're somewhere.
I'm somewhere.
I don't even remember
I'm
where you are.
cruise, so I don't really
In the middle
know.
of the
I'll be
ocean.
here.
Somewhere.
You on a
Going on
cruise?
The hurricane.
We're gonna go on one of those submersibles?
No. Going to look at the
Wow,
Titanic.
we're like worst case ever.
What a horror show.
Go to the bottom of the ocean in a tin can.
Boy.
That
imagine it was all
billionaire
over
is
pretty
on
quick.
board, I'm
I was
sure
gonna
he's.
say, it seems like a weird way to spend $100,000.
Only if that's the problem.
Nobody knows.
Anything else?
I just need that purchase order signed that you have in front of you.
You in a hurry?
Mostly signed.
Just wanted to show you.
All right, I must depart. I gotta go.
As you depart, you want to make a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
On highway and. Route
Neil,
38.
I'll second.
Is it a
Any
code
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So
Look at that. You made the whole meeting, Ted.
Come on that
You
then.
made the whole meeting.